You know, I get faxes all the time, and they're never signed. Bothers me, really bothers me. I know it's part of the electronic age, and people say, well, we send them over our personal computer. Well, that's an explanation, but it's not an excuse. I get a letter from someone, and it says sincerely, and there's a blank space, and then their name is typed. I get very annoyed. I just automatically get annoyed. I don't know why. I love using fountain pens. As you can see, I've got a lot of them. I keep them in a wonderful box that I got here. It's got a tambour door, and it opens like this, and the drawer pulls out. I use real ink. These are all beautiful fountain pens. This one is a Recife. This one is called the Victory. One of the things that I talk about all the time on a sci-fi channel is that you should operate at the level of technology that best serves the job you're going to do. If you work best with a PC, that's fine, then use it. If you work best with a typewriter, do it. If you work best writing creatively with a fountain pen in your hand, writing on a piece of paper, then do it. And I got to tell you, folks, a letter is still a letter if it's written by hand. Even if you got the worst handwriting in the world, and mine is not terrific. Nonetheless, when you get a signed letter, you know that there was a human being behind it, not some cold thing that you got off a PC. I got the reason I'm doing this here, sitting at the table with the pen, because I've got some stuff to clear up. But I got a call from the editor of Sci-Fi Universe magazine. He said we got a hit about you, and from someone named Crazy Mama. And I said, oh, that's wonderful. He says, yeah, it's not really nice that America Online makes everybody use a pseudonym because it encourages bad behavior. They can hide behind the pseudonym. And this woman, some doctor somewhere or other, wrote a really snotty kind of thing. And I don't respond to these things usually. I have no, since I don't have a computer or a modem, I can't respond. But I decided this time I would. So I handed her her head. Real mean, long. I took great joy in writing it. And I wrote it because it was a human being responding to a cold, I'm a coward hiding out behind the internet kind of message. And I show you myself sitting with a fountain pen because it keeps you in touch with your hands, with your life. It's like using a watch with real hands on it instead of a digital. These things are things that make you understand that the electronic age still needs to be unplugged every once in a while.
I've heard of you before. You're Holmes the meddler, Holmes the busybody, Holmes the Scotland Yard Jack in office.
Your conversation really is most entertaining. If you would...
Sadly, at long last, the world's most famous consulting detective, Sherlock Holmes, is gone. Jeremy Brett died. Died in London, September 12th, 1995, of a heart attack. In 41 episodes on Granada Television, Sherlock Holmes was brought more vibrantly alive than ever before. You will be able to lead a better life if you follow the process of deductive logic that Holmes mastered, where you observe and can draw intelligent conclusions.
Farintosh, oh yes, I do remember the case. It concerned an opal tiara. I think it was before your time, was.
MPI, whose number we will flash on the screen so that you can order these when you want, have brought out all 41 of them. They're all in uniform editions now. They run 50 minutes each, no commercials, the same way they were on PBS, except there'll be no breaks for pledge donations. Sherlock Holmes as Jeremy Brett. Jeremy Brett as Sherlock Holmes in real life may be gone. But as Sherlock Holmes will live forever, in this way, so Jeremy Brett, having played his greatest role, also will live forever.
The law is what we live with, Inspector. Justice is sometimes harder to achieve.
I'm sitting in my car. My car is a 1947 Packard. I got a current car. I drive that one, but I love the Packard. I love the Packard because it was built to run, built to last. You could hit this car with 200 small Japanese cars and they would be demolished into ashes. When I go past a grade school, little kids have no idea what this car is. They have no idea it was made in 1947. They don't even know there was a year called 1947. But they see this car go by and they give me that. And that means they recognize something that is forever, like the pyramids. Now I want to talk to you about a couple of things that I think are important for you to try and remember, things that you can help preserve the past with. And I do this so that you will not be ignorant, and you will not be stupid, and you will not be uneducated. Now, the first is the idea of the great bookstores. Almost all the independent bookstores are being driven out of business by these huge megalithic bookstores, the Borders and the Walden Books and the Barnes & Nobles, 565 million square feet, push out the mom and pop stores. When they do that, it means that they cut out all of the potential for finding books that you can't get at those big bookstores. Yeah, you can find Danielle Steele, you can find Stephen King, you can find Tom Clancy, but you're not going to be able to find Gerald Kirsch. You're not going to be able to find Zoe Oldenburg. You're not going to be able to find Cecilia Holland. What you got to do is remember that, yeah, you're going to be able to save a few bucks if you go to one of the big bookstores, but you're driving the mom and pop stores out of business. The same for Blockbuster. Those hideous blue and yellow, what are they, blue and yellow stores that crop up like a giant pimple on the landscape. When they drive the little neighborhood video stores out of business, it means you're not going to be able to get all the underground films that you should be seeing, all of the small films. Hell, they don't even carry NC-17 films. So I'm talking to you about not necessarily patronizing the big stores. Now, if you recall, a couple of commentaries ago, I talked to you about the golden age of comics. This is a set of cards that Comic Images was going to be bringing out. Well, they brought them out. This is just a little sample of them. And each one of them is a cover of an old comic book with wonderful commentary on the back by Ron Goulart, the great historian of comic books. And this is a way to preserve the past. This is a way, in modern terms, to save that which is good from before. Now, I was talking to you about bookstores. Here's a book that will never be sold in a Barnes & Noble. This is one of the Charnel House books. You see this? This is denim. He did the books in denim. And who is he? He is Joe Stefko. Joe Stefko is, even to this day, the drummer for the Turtles, the rock group the Turtles. But Joe, in his spare time, he's a publisher. He does Charnel House books. He only does maybe one book a year, but he produces them with such incredible loving care. And these are wonderful, beautiful books that are built to last, just like this car. Joe has got 2 books left that you really ought to get. One of them is a Dean Koontz book called Beast Child. And Beast Child sells for 150 bucks. There's only 750 copies of them. There's only a few left. And it's got an introduction by Dean, and it's exquisitely printed on Mohawk vellum, end sheets of Fabriano Ingres, slip-cased in iris cloth. It's 150 bucks. Now, not all of you can afford it. He brought it out in 1992. There's a few left. And the other one is the new Tim Powers book, Where They Are Hid, which is a wonderful little original, never-before printed story by Tim Powers. For the most part, you got to know that these things existed. You got to know that they happened. Because if you think the world is nothing but fast food and the kind of stuff that you see on the newsstands now, you should be told that there was a lot that went before. And as Santana said, those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. You know, Dick Crew, who is the producer of this show, occasionally Dick will say to me, why don't you do a segment on something, such and such? Not often, but sometimes. And he said to me, why don't you do one on your heart attack? I said, it's old news, and plenty of people out there watching who probably have had the same thing. And then I thought about it a little bit, and I thought maybe this much of it might be of interest to you. As a writer, and that's how I make my living, is dreaming up stuff. All my life I've written about mortality. Every story I've written, and in virtually every science fiction story you read, there'll be a protagonist and there's a discussion in some way or other, rather either obliquely or profoundly or obviously, there will be a discussion of mortality and what that means. And we write about it very glibly. Well, I got to tell you, when I had the heart attack in April of '96, and they took me into the ER, and the following, it was April 12th, I guess, or April 10th was when they took me in, and April 12th is when they cracked me open. I mean, they cracked me open like a walnut. And I didn't know at the time. If I had known what the procedure was, I probably would have plotzed. They actually open you up, and they take your heart out, and they lay it on this side, and they take your lungs out, and they lay them on that side, and they work on you outside your body. It's like getting your car repaired. I keep thinking, invariably, when I get my car fixed, there's always a piece left over in there. You say, well, shouldn't that be in there? And the guy says, oh, no, that's the thermostat. You don't need that. They just put that in because ramadoula. And then he throws it in the garbage can. I'm thinking, did they do that to me too when I was lying on the table? Was there something left over? And they just kind of said, oh, no, no, he doesn't need that. It's just a liver. Throw it away. I suddenly found myself standing in the doorway looking at the other side, looking at death. And there's nothing. I mean, there's nothing there. I'm being a practicing atheist. I don't think there's anything on the other side. But I finally looked at death, and I got to tell you, it scared the crap out of me. Really scared me. All the braggadocio that I had written about, that writers do write about, that people talk about, particularly young people. Well, live fast, die young, and have a good-looking corpse, which most people don't know where that comes from. It comes from a Willard Motley novel called Knock on Any Door. It's bull. It's crap. It's silliness. If you were 101 years old, lying on the table about to croak, all you would think is, let me make it to 102. And if you were 102, you'd say, let me just have it till 103. When the time comes to cash in, even those of us who are real smart Alex and who think we're very tough, you kind of run screaming from it. I tell you all this, not for any particular reason, except I'm sure there's somebody out there watching right now token on something really unpleasant and bad that's going to kill you, or eating a toad burger, or frying up your arteries with some crap. And I just thought I would mention it just on the off chance that maybe I might help you save your life. I don't know. Maybe Dick was wrong. Maybe I shouldn't have done it. I don't know. Go away. Go away.